Until last year, people in Louisiana could serve years, even decades in prison after a non-unanimous jury convicted them of a crime. That's when the U.S. Supreme Court ruled our non-unanimous jury system was unconstitutional. But today, Louisiana lawyers argued before the nation's highest court that even people convicted before that new ruling should get new trials. As Paul Dudley explains, it could affect the convictions of more than 1,000 people here.
When the highest court in the land ruled 6-3 in Ramos versus Louisiana last year, making state criminal trials unanimous to convict, it only impacted future cases, or cases where the defendants were still appealing. Now, another similar Louisiana case is before the Supreme Court, Edwards versus Vinoy.
And so what Edwards asks the question is whether or not that Ramos rule should apply retroactively.
If made retroactive, it would benefit prisoners convicted by non-unanimous juries whose cases were final before last year's ruling and could force the state to retry the cases. Tulane law professor Catherine Mattis told me about the legal test the justices will be looking at.
The legal test about retroactivity is a very difficult, it's a very complicated test. The first question that is asked is whether or not it is a new rule of constitutional law or whether it's an old rule of constitutional law. Well, if it's a new rule, is it what we call a watershed rule? In other words, is it so fundamental to our criminal procedure, so very basic?
It is estimated there are roughly 1,500 people in Louisiana prisons convicted by non-unanimous juries who have used up all their chances to appeal. The Promise of Justice initiative says 80% are black and have long called the Jim Crow era practice racist.
Some of the questions from the Supreme Court today were about accuracy. Like, do we feel like these verdicts are accurate? And looking at case after case after case, I can tell you there are so many questions as to the accuracy of these verdicts.
Legal experts expect an opinion to be out by April or May. Paul Dudley, Eyewitness News.
The latest case before the Supreme Court involves Louisiana prisoner Cedric Edwards. A jury convicted Edwards of rape and multiple counts of armed robbery and kidnapping. The jury divided 10-2 on most of the robbery charges and 11-1 on the remaining charges. The lone black juror on the case voted to acquit him.